And welcome into Citadel Gray Line. And we are on location for this special edition of the show. You apologize if we're going to be a little bit rougher than normal. Jon Rawl is my name. Great to have you on. We are in Oxford, Mississippi, where your Citadel Bulldogs are getting ready to upset the number 6 University of Mississippi Fighting Rebels, and we're going to break it all down. We've got Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier. We've got Thomas Scruggs, our Bulldog insider, as well here. And we're right here on the Oxford Square, and we're tickled that you could take time to join us here on this all-dog show. We're going to break down kind of what you can expect if you come to Oxford for this big game against a very high-powered Lane Kiffin coach Rebel team, and what the Citadel, fresh off a 28-point fourth quarter, can do against the SEC foe. And as you well know, dog fans, the Citadel has a proud history of knocking off SEC teams. Trying to get my camera right, guys. So we're going to get all this going. Let's welcome in from the Charleston Post and Courier, Andrew Miller, into the show. Hello, Andrew. Sorry you're not here in Oxford today.
Yeah, it looks like you got beautiful weather there, John.
It's awesome.
It should be a great atmosphere there on Saturday. I have actually never been to a game at Ole Miss. Have not been to the Grove. That's kind of one of those places I want to go before my career is done. But yeah, it looks awesome out there today.
It is awesome. This is I'll just go ahead and say it. This is a great town. I've lived in the Oxford area most of my professional career, and I have a connection to the Ole Miss Rebel family, having received my master's at Ole Miss. And so this is a special weekend for me. It's been on my calendar a long time. And then this guy here has a special connection now to Oxford, Mississippi. It's Thomas Scruggs, our dog insider. And tell us your connection to Lafayette County, Mississippi.
Hey, John. Yeah, I do share your love of Oxford, Mississippi. I've got my young from Columbia, over the past year and a half. All started with a Morgan Wallen concert. I believe that was like March or April of 24. So, yeah, we were there last weekend. We'll be back this weekend to cheer on the dogs.
Yeah, you were here last weekend. So was I. And unlike you, Thomas, I was hanging out in the Grove for the first time in a while, and I was representing those Citadel Bulldogs. Look at there, me and Colonel Reb. And by wearing my Citadel, which I think is a pretty cool hat, by the way, my Citadel cap, I had a lot of Ole Miss fans come up to me and say I was a week early. But I also ran into a couple of Citadel grads who were here for the South Carolina Gamecocks v. Ole Miss game. I want to say hello to Bo from the class of 1978. He was sitting a few seats behind. He saw my beautiful Citadel hat, said hello to me. Also, a guy yelled at me from about 20 rows up, and I thought, what's that guy yelling at me for? And then I noticed he was staring at me. So I went up there to see what the heck he was staring at. It turned out to be my classmate, Jimmy Conard, who's been a long time high school basketball coach in the Columbia area. So it was great to see Jimmy, and a few other Citadel connections were here. And Michael Hunter, class of 96, got a chance to meet him. And he's going to be back here this weekend. He has a child at Ole Miss. I've got a classmate with a kid at Ole Miss, Mark Robeson. And there's a lot of connections here. And we'll talk about that as we go on with this week's show, getting ready for the SEC showdown for the Citadel and a big paycheck coming the Dogs' way. We welcome you if you'd like to get involved with our show. By the way, we're broadcasting from the Velvet Ditch. And this is going to be the official Citadel tailgate on Friday for dog fans coming in. It's closed right now, so I apologize. We don't have the world's greatest atmosphere here. This doesn't open until 4 p.m. local time. But the Velvet Ditch is going to be the official Citadel tailgate spot when you come into town Friday. And then after the game Saturday, Jared, the owner here, has invited everybody to come back out here for 4 to 7 and afterwards. This place has hundreds, if not close to 1,000 people packed in here late at night. It's become the hot spot on the Oxford Square, which, by the way, as I said, that is the historic courthouse is right down there, if you can see it, which is pretty neat. And this is South Lamar, beautiful area. While I'm over here, there's a building right there when I first moved here, a Citadel alumnus, class of 1968, was a lawyer in that building, and he used to come out here every day at lunch and go across this street and over this sidewalk to right over there is a Chevron gas station, and that is the home of the famous chicken on a stick. And Rick Davis, class of '68, would go over there and have his plate lunch every day, and that was a really neat thing. And I got to meet him. Great man. He grew up in the Presbyterian orphanage in Clinton, South Carolina, and got a Citadel scholarship to attend LCID. And it just lets you know when you think your life's tough, here's a guy who didn't have parents and found a way to survive his childhood and then get a scholarship to the Citadel and then became a lawyer. Unfortunately, we lost Rick Davis.
No.
All right, we're going to try this again, everybody. Sorry about that. You know, the challenge of being on location. As I'll have to keep checking back here. I won't try to get so fancy with some of my edits. Let's get into what happened this past weekend. Enough of the Oxford talk for a second. Andrew Millard, let's talk about dogs and VMI. Great comeback for El Cid.
Yeah, 28 unanswered fourth quarter points from the Bulldogs. Great comeback. Just showed kind of the heart, the grit, the perseverance, the character, culture, all those words that coaches love to use. The story that I wrote for Sunday's paper was they were all on full display. Totally concur with that. I mean, nothing has changed about my opinion on that. A lot of teams would have folded their tents. First and goal at the 1 yard line, 24, I think it was 24-14 at that point. And Leo Bolin looks like he's going to go in for the touchdown that's going to put the game away. What happens? They have a fumble on the quarterback on the read option, just a fumble there. And Jeremiah Holmes, let's give that guy full credit. Not only does he run Bolin down from behind, stop him from scoring on that play, then he recovers the fumble. That kind of leads to those 28 points at the Citadel. The next 21 points at the Citadel ends up scoring. Great comeback. Tommy and I were talking before we got on the air that it seems like Quentin Hayes has found a deep threat, that Maurice Drayton has found a deep threat with Jihad Marks, 3 touchdown passes, including the one at the end, which a lot of people thought on the VMI side that the Citadel was running it up. He wasn't running it up. He didn't think he could get a yard. It's a 24-20. It's a one possession game, and yeah, he threw the ball deep because he had one-on-one coverage to a guy who'd already caught 2 touchdown passes. So I have no issue with that call whatsoever. I would have had no issue with that reversed either, because you cannot run the clock out in that situation. But great comeback from the Bulldogs. The defense really stood up in that fourth quarter, got a couple of stops, and yeah, just a great character win for the Citadel.
It was. And Thomas, a little bit of a surprise to see that rally in the fourth quarter, in my opinion.
Yeah, John. So we, as you know, we were sitting in the Grove, and I think VMI was up 21-7 there in the third quarter. Kind of lost reception, so I was depending on a classmate to send me text from the stadium. I wasn't really looking forward to those texts. I figured there was going to be a blowout. VMI was going to walk away with it or run away with it. And then we got a text, I don't know, somewhere about midway third quarter, end of the third quarter. It was fourth quarter. Said, wait a minute, hold everything. The game has changed. So we were kind of sitting on the edge of our seats, waiting to see what was happening. Unfortunately, couldn't watch that 28-point comeback in the fourth quarter. But also some inside information there in the stands. Apparently, there was a big group of VMI alums and folks over on our side. And they were talking a lot of trash talking going on when VMI was up 24-7. And by the end of the fourth quarter, they had to slink away to try to become invisible to get out of Johnson Haygood.
And do we know what the subject of their trash talking was?
No, so a lot of the VMI grads get online and talk about the fact that we have a graduate school and trash talk is, not everybody that wears the ring is a cadet, whatever, who cares? So no, other than them beating us or thinking they were going to run away with the game, that was the only trash talking I was aware of.
Well, they did have a point there at the end. I believe most of the big names that helped in that comeback were, as far as I know, non-cadets. So I guess when they walk back to Lexington, Virginia, they can say, well, we we beat those cadets, but the graduate students we just couldn't beat.
Well, whatever makes you feel better about the loss, I guess, John.
Yeah. But I mean, this was a bend but don't break attitude. I wanted to share the message board for the Citadel. If you want some good humor, Andrew, go back and look at lordsofdiscipline.net during the game, and you'll see a comedy going on of people like, oh, God, this is ridiculous. This is terrible. This is terrible. Worst team, blah, blah, blah. And then lo and behold, the Citadel ends up winning the game. I'm sure you're used to that kind of feedback, right?
Well, yeah, again, and if nothing unusual there, I'm a South Carolina fan. Tommy would probably agree. We say the same thing on the message boards every Saturday during every game, so that would not be unusual to me. And as a Chicago Bears fan, I was going through similar emotions against the Cincinnati Bengals this past Sunday. So yeah, I'm used to stuff like that. I just that is just fandom, and that's fandom at its finest, as far as I'm concerned, because you live and die on every single play.
Well, Andrew, I'm impressed. You're a guy who actually gets paid to write sports, and you're telling me you get on the message boards and trash talk yourself?
Well, I do not trash talk. I just read what everybody else is saying. But
Okay.
I feel their frustration internally as well.
All right. Well, I know this guy here is a big trash talker.
Absolutely, John, especially when you're in the room with me.
That is true. That is very true. But the Citadel in this game against VMI, they did something that they are really getting. I saw a post today, social media wise, Andrew, and it was the Citadel bragging about their offense, including some of the passing stats in the Southern Conference. They're right there, either on top or very near it. What's up with that?
Yeah, I mean, they had over 500 yards of total offense. That they were able to run the ball. They Kobe Tompkins, who didn't finish the game, he had over 100 yards rushing. And I thought Garrison Johnson gave him some really good, minutes is one thing, really good rushing attempts there. So the running game, I thought, was pretty consistent throughout all four quarters. They just, early in the game, they just couldn't put together enough first downs to kind of sustain drives. But, after the second half, as soon as the second half started, I thought the offense was really clicking. And again, Tommy and I were talking off air. I think Quentin Hayes has kind of earned the right now to be the starter after these last couple of games. He's been able to throw the ball, and he's also been able to give them a running element in the quarterback position. So the dual threat, he's really starting to become a problem for opposing defenses. So to me, he should be starting. You got John Marks now, finally got a little bit of a deep threat. You get Garrison Johnson going. Corey Ibrahim is slowly starting to get back to where he was. So I think the offense is kind of playing a lot better. They just need to get off a little bit quicker starts. Bad start against VMI, bad start against Furman. They've got to get that corrected.
Well, we keep talking about this VMI game, and there's a producer on staff here at Citadel Gray Line that's behind the scenes, and he surprised me over the weekend and did a little video montage of this big win over the VMI Cadets. So, if you don't mind, we're going to go to our producer's handiwork here and look back at this nice win over the VMI Cadets, courtesy of producer Knowlton.
I'm just saying, hey Mona Lisa, come home.
All right. Shock the world. Thank you, producer Knowlton, for that fine work there. And perhaps that music there could be our new theme song for the Citadel Grand Line. What do you think, Thomas? What do you think of that work?
I like the video. No comment on the music, though.
I was impressed by that. That came out of nowhere. And as the message there at the end says, shock the world. And that's what the Citadel Bulldogs hope to do this weekend. We got a guy over there packing his cigarettes, walking down the sidewalk, getting ready for the big game on a Wednesday. They're already tailgating here because they're scared of those dogs coming in. But fine work by the Citadel getting that comeback over VMI. Any other notes we need to know about Saturday's win, Andrew?
I was going to say, I thought the first touchdown pass to Jihad Marks from Quentin Hayes, where he rolls to his left, kind of goes against his body and throws that touchdown pass. I believe it was on 4th down too. Huge play that kind of changed the momentum of the game. And the other thing, I don't know if you guys saw Scott Van Pelt's on ESPN Bad Beats, but the Citadel is featured in that at the very end. I would highly recommend, if you're a Citadel fan, to go and watch it, because I guess the over-under was 54.5 points. So the last touchdown pass of Jihad Marks, I guess, made it 58.5, or I don't know, whatever it was. The touchdown pass was what put it over the top for the over-under. But it's a great little sequence, and you guys should go check that out. It's really funny.
All right, I'll do that as soon as I check out Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Josh Daniels there in the Columbia area owns this great business, does a good job. Thomas, tell us a little bit more about Josh and what Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning does. I'm working hard in Oxford. You need to handle what's going on in South Carolina.
So we always recommend Josh and his company. Probably the most professional, plumbers that will ever show up at your house. John, very very polite. They explain to you right up front, what they're going to do, what it's going to cost. So we've always had great experiences with Josh and Franklin, and never hesitate to recommend them. For all plumbing needs.
803-761-0167 is their number. I say again, 803-761-0167. They've got a 24-hour number you can call. Also, they've got expert service available 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Check them out in the Columbia SC area. Thomas, while we've got you bragging on companies, how about Hood Construction? Hood Construction's been building it for decades in South Carolina.
Yes, we have, John, and we got some Citadel folks that we both know that are here in beautiful Charleston, helping out our client over at the College of Charleston. So that's actually why I'm down here in the Low Country a couple days a week.
Yes, when you're not in Oxford, you're actually working in South Carolina. That's pretty neat.
That's why I'm not in Oxford this week and right now.
Yeah, but you're trying to convince the powers that be to open up a Mississippi office, I'm sure. Building it the right way for
That'd be a big
39
negative.
years. A full-service construction company. Go to hoodconstruction.com and check out projects they got going on. They don't have pictures of that College of Charleston project yet, but they probably will at some point. That's like a $40 million project, right?
Yeah, and if you go to our social media, you go to Facebook page, John, you can scroll down. You will see project spotlight of this College of Charleston Stern Center renovation.
Okay. Again, that's hoodconstruction.com. Go check it out. And that big $40 million project, you're looking at the guy that's responsible. So if it kind of falls down after about a week or two, that's the guy right there responsible.
Well, I don't think it's going to fall down, John. This is a cast-in-place concrete structure built in 1975.
Woo,
So
look at
no
you with the
worries
big
there. And I
words.
appreciate the vote of confidence there from Oxford, Mississippi, though.
Yeah. Well, y'all got Charleston's. It is possible to have an earthquake in Charleston. Are you prepared for that in your construction process?
Absolutely.
Okay, I knew you would be.
Not only earthquakes, but hurricanes.
I
Down here when you build on the coast, everything's got to be hurricane rated, from the doors to even the hardware on the doors, all the glass and frames, everything that you do down here. Much more strict standards than you have in the rest of the state.
Yeah. Yeah, those lowlifes in the Midlands and the upstate, they don't know what it's like to build a house the right way, right?
Kind of like Mississippi. Yep.
Oh, we don't have houses here. We got shacks. And
Okay.
I know it well. All right, Andrew, the Citadel, the house that the Citadel builds, is it strong? Is it healthy? Is it healthy in terms of players? Do they got the full component of dogs ready to shock the world?
Yeah, no major injuries came out of the game against VMI, and I think that's what, if you're a Citadel fan, you want two things. You want to get that big check that Ole Miss is going to give you for playing in this game, and then you want to come away from the game without any injuries because you got two big games coming up to finish the year in the Southern Conference against Wofford at home in the season home season finale, and then they'll play the last game of the regular season up to the ETSU. So you want to come through this game without any injuries. You want to gain a little confidence, playing against an SEC team and playing in that atmosphere because, a lot of kids aren't going to be able to play in that kind of atmosphere ever again. So, I think it's something that the Citadel players and fans should embrace. But, I would keep temper your expectations is what I would say.
And the picture you're looking at is from 2005. That
Yep.
is when Kevin Higgins in his first year came here to take on the great Ed Orgeron in his first year at Ole Miss. And it was a fairly close game for most of the game. The Rebels ended up prevailing late, but the Citadel with a first half, I think it was an interception return for a touchdown to give the dog fans like me in attendance excitement, the good silver helmet era of Citadel football there, you see. But this will be the second time the Dogs march into march into Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, and kind of neat to see that. While I'm showing, we've got show and tell here, guys. If you don't mind, this is kind of cool. So, Andrew, you haven't been to Oxford, but you might know because you're a very intellectual type guy. You probably know about some of the great bars in the Southeast, right? The good college bars.
I am not as familiar with those as you would be. That's a little past my age demographic here.
All right. Well, let me at least flatter you a little bit. So you went to that school in Columbia, not Columbia College, but the other one. What was
Correct.
the top? What was the top bar in Columbia in 1984?
When I was in school, the place that I liked to go the most was group therapy.
Group therapy. All right. I'm not familiar with that one.
Down in
Thomas.
5 points.
Thomas, you know a little bit about bars, right?
Oh, yeah, a little bit, John. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your favorite bar to go to when you were studying at the institute was what?
Well, when I was at the Citadel, so I would go to Big John's downtown or Jean's Hofbräu over, on high, over there in the Avondale area.
Okay. Well, that's good. And during my time at the Citadel, there was a country bar down at the market that was pretty awesome, and that was my favorite. In case anybody wanted to know, but the undisputed top bar in Oxford, Mississippi, besides Velvet Ditch, where we are, and I'm gonna give this other competitor a plug, is the Library Sports Bar, where on football weekends like this weekend, you're looking at $150 to $200 cover charge to get into that sports bar. That's Andrew money. I mean, that's big time money. But I got to give the Library Sports Bar in Oxford and owner John Dessler a plug because he has been flying the flags of all of Ole Miss's opponents for the season outside of his bar. And you see right there, beautifully placed, is the Citadel flag. So kudos. That's been up for a couple of months, and that's been spreading the word about this upcoming matchup with the Citadel and the Mississippi Lane Kiffins, if you will. So that's cool. I failed to show this from that 2005 matchup. This was a pretty cool T-shirt that was on sale at the time, and I've got a graphic of this that I like to show. Ole Miss versus Citadel back in 2005, and maybe you can see somebody sporting some of these this weekend if you make it to Oxford. I love that graphic, and kind of cool to see that going on here this weekend. I want to take this moment before we get into the X's and O's of this matchup. This is a the money game on the schedule for Maurice Drayton's ball club. And we encourage everybody to come. Sadly, there aren't going to be all that many of these games probably on the schedule in the future. So there's no excuse. If you're able to travel, come on over. It's about a 10 to 11 hour drive from Charleston if you want to get in the car. You get to go through scenic Atlanta and Birmingham on the way. But this is a great environment. And there's a tailgate scheduled Saturday before the game. And I'm sure if General Walters is able to come, he'll stop by. Some alums have kind of put together a tailgate outside of what's called Farley Hall on campus. And that's going on again here at the Velvet Ditch. And I'll turn around. They're getting all the spirits ready for you. If you come here, again, they're closed right now, but they'll be open later today. They got 4 to 7 on Friday, 4 to 7 on Saturday after the game, encouraging a nice group of Citadel people to come here. And then right over my shoulder here is a square, where's my finger? Oh, yeah, back there. It's a square. And then go and just paint the town infantry blue and white this weekend when the Citadel shocks the world. There are some similarities between these two schools if I have an opportunity to bring this up for a minute. So right behind me over there is the gas station, but also right over there on the other side by the gas station is a house that William Faulkner built. This is the home of William Faulkner. He and his brother built that house before he started writing books, I guess. So there's a connection with literature. This is the South's literary capital, in my opinion, Oxford. Well, I consider Charleston to be the South, if not America's historic capital. So we have a good connection there. Some wonderful food here. There were actually 4 restaurants in this little town that just got yesterday nominated for Michelin stars. So if you want to eat, this is a good place to go, just like Charleston. And, Thomas, you'll like this. So Ole Miss has a reputation of having the best looking co-eds in America. Would you agree with
Well, I don't think I can comment on that, John.
that? Well, they're known for having good looking ladies at this school, and the Citadel is home to the best looking men in America. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. That's what I thought. That's what I like. But no, it's a good town. If you haven't been here, yeah, it's a classic Southern town, and it ought to be a good experience. I'm looking forward to being as one of I think 2 Citadel alums that live in this town now. The other being I don't know his first name is Hinkies, I believe is his last name. His wife, he's a class of 2000, I think. His wife is the Ole Miss women's golf coach, which won the national championship about 5 years ago here in Oxford. And he's a grad, and I know he's a grad because I was getting my hair cut here a couple of years ago wearing something Citadel, as I often do. And the guy says, hey, I went to the Citadel. So you never know what you run into when you go to the barbershop and or you wear Citadel apparel. So we have a very, very small club, but we've got Big Red here, and we're ready to fly our colors proudly when the Citadel rolls into town. But should be a good fun time again. Velvet Ditch, you got your tailgate, and the Citadel needs to come in here. And if they can't shock the world, Andrew, can we at least keep it under 50?
Yeah, no, I think that again, you want to come out of this game injury free. I mean, that to me is first and foremost. Obviously, you want to win every game that you play, but again, I think you also have to be realistic. I think they can keep it under. I don't know what the point spread is because they didn't have one earlier in the week. I don't know if that's been updated. I haven't checked today, but yeah, I think this is going to be. It's hard to predict. It's hard to predict what Lane Kiffin's going to do. Is he going to try to run it up? Is he not going to try to run it up? There's no connection between him and Maurice Drayton. I actually asked him about that Monday. Their paths have not crossed. I mean, he knew Monty Kiffin a little bit, but hadn't worked with him or around him or in that same kind of atmosphere. So I think it's going to be what Lane Kiffin. What is Lane Kiffin going to do? What's his offense going to look like and stuff like that. I don't think the Citadel will. They're not going to give up. They're going to compete for 60 minutes. They're going to try as hard as they can. But at the end of the day, there's just too much talent on that other side of the field. But again, I've seen stranger things happen. I remember them obviously beating South Carolina a couple times. They beat Arkansas. So certainly, they're up at halftime against Alabama that one time. So I mean, anything can happen. It's still the football is a funny shape, so the ball can bounce really strange ways.
And Thomas, your thoughts on how this game could play out Saturday?
Well, the best thing about the game is that large paycheck we're going to get, John. But I'm sure our Bulldogs will have plenty of fight. Honestly, I think Lane's going to get the opportunity to play some guys that don't normally see playing time. On Saturday, probably wants to stay healthy for that Florida game the following weekend. So, I could see our guys keeping it close there for a while, certainly.
I would like to see a close game. And again, it's a great opportunity to get some national attention. I know I've already seen showing up on my YouTube all kinds of forecasts for the game. Is there a line? Not that I care about that, but is there a line for this game, Andrew?
Again, I checked Monday and yesterday. I didn't see one. I have not checked today. So,
okay. Where's your money going, Thomas?
Well, since I don't officially bet on athletic events, John, just a fan.
Okay, just a fan. Well, I've got a friend not far from here. He lives in Memphis, and he actually has made a little bit of a career always betting against the Citadel. I mean, whether it's basketball or football games, sometimes there's a basketball game against the teams that I've never even heard of in November and December, and my friend will text me and saying, "Go whoever that nickname of that team is," and I won't even realize there's a game that night. And he bets, and he's made quite a bit of money on Citadel, which is kind of embarrassing to admit on a Citadel show, but hey, to each his own.
John, I did check again today. Ole Miss is a 54.5-point favorite.
Okay.
So I agree with Tommy. I think they will cover that. I would put my money on the Citadel in that case.
Well, I think the Citadel can cover it if they can have a running game. So that's the question. Can they have 3 and 4 yard downs consistently to keep the chains moving to slow this game down or speed it up, actually?
Yeah, you're right. That is, as they say, the $64,000 question. Although that was a very long time ago, very old reference there. I apologize. But yeah, that'll be the key. Can they control the clock? Can they pick up third downs? That's really what this game to me is going to come down to. I think we'll see spurts of that. I just don't know if they can do it consistently. That's the only issue. And again, we kind of talked about it earlier. They got to get off to better starts. They got to get off to a quicker start. The last 2 weeks have been terrible. They have not scored any points in the first half. They gotta do something early to give themselves a little bit of confidence. I think we're going to see some trick plays. I think Maurice Drayton's going to kind of let it all hang out with stuff like that.
Well, we're looking forward to whatever they can do to pull the shocker. IPS Packaging, they're the presenting sponsor of this. Again, we're on location in Oxford, Mississippi, or at least I am, and competing with people on motorcycles with loud music right now. But that gives me an opportunity to tell you about IPS Packaging and Automation, a family-owned and operated powerhouse that's been a titan in the packaging industry since 1976. IPS Packaging and Automation, they do a great job with countless businesses and manufacturing facilities across the U.S. And a fun fact for Bulldog fans, IPS Packaging and Automation has been sponsoring this show and a whole bunch of other Citadel athletic events for more than a decade. Discover what they can do for you. Dive onto their website. Go there, ipack.com, ipack.com, or call them at 800-277-7007, 800-277-7007. Yeah! Love motorcycles. IPS Packaging and Automation is a proud supporter of Citadel Athletics. And actually, I'll take the moment while I'm picking on that motorcycle rider. I'm not a big motorcycle guy, in case you wondered. I lost my Citadel classmate on a scooter, and I'm just personally not a fan. But one thing they do here that they don't do in South Carolina, for whatever reason, South Carolina, I think, still kind of out there. it's not a helmet state, right, Andrew? You can ride helmetless in South Carolina?
I don't think anymore you can now.
Oh, okay. Well, see, you learn all kind of stuff here on Citadel Gray Line. I did not know that.
But that I don't know. It's been. I used to have a motorcycle back in my early 20s. I do not now. I gave it up. And back then it was not. You're right. You did not need a helmet back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Well, they do look cool when you don't have to wear them, but safety-wise, probably not the best decision. Safety-wise, the Citadel, Thomas, better strap their helmet on big for this one. Again, Lane Kiffin's on a roll, and I hope personally that he's getting all kind of offers this week from Penn State, Florida, LSU. He's got all that on his mind. He's got his daughter dating the LSU player on his mind. Knox is on his mind. I hope everything is on his mind but those mighty Citadel Bulldogs.
Well, John, also, what we had talked about is Ole Miss's defense has not been great this year in their secondary and also in their open space tackling. That wasn't a problem last week because they faced a team without an offense. But maybe the Citadel will provide more of a challenge than the flagship University of South Carolina. We'll see.
Andrew, I know you got to chime in on that one.
No, if the Gamecocks had a real offensive coordinator, I think they would have scored a few more points there, but they didn't. Unfortunately, hopefully they have one this week. Tackling in space, Lane Kiffin's really never had a team that's had a great defense. I think there are plays to be made for the Citadel offensively. And again, you get these drives where, let's say you have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 plays, you're keeping the ball away from their offense. That's going to frustrate the Ole Miss offense too. So, again, third down is going to be huge for the Citadel offensively, sustaining drives, keeping the ball out of the Ole Miss Rebels' hands. It's a very potent offense that's been on display the entire season. So, keeping the ball away from them, maintaining control of the football is going to be a huge deal here on Saturday.
All right. And again, if you come here to Oxford, have a good time. Josh, what's y'all's top sellers here? Here's Josh over there. What's y'all's top sellers?
Craft beer, probably Skydog.
Skydog beer, in case you're interested.
Ghost of Machine.
What about food?
Food? Honestly, everything.
Everything. They got seafood, steaks.
Fillets off the chain, pork chop.
Oysters. Yeah, oysters. Fillets off the chain, Josh over there says. So Velvet Ditch, check it out. Right here at the corner of University and South Lamar. The square's right there. Campus is back over here. And wear your Citadel blue because it's going to be fun. One of the highlights of my life was in 2015 hanging out in downtown Columbia after a 23-22 victory over the Gamecocks. And Carolina fans would come up to all of my Citadel buddies and buy us food and drinks for the rest of the night. Maybe, just maybe, we can pull that off here again in Oxford.
Well, regardless, John, we'll be representing the Citadel well there in Oxford in our Citadel blue.
All right. And Andrew, we appreciate anything else. We got basketball. They had their first game of the season on Monday. Tell me about it.
Yeah, they look really good. Definitely a different vibe coming from this team. Played really well against Erskine. Ended up ending the nation's longest losing streak at 22 games. A very convincing. I don't even know the score. It was like 105 to 50 or 60. They took care of business. They hit 21 3-pointers, which again is not really a trademark of an Ed Conroy coach team, but Erskine was packing their zone in defensively, just kind of daring the Citadel to shoot, and they made 21 3-pointers. I think took the most 3-pointers, in the history of the program against Erskine. So I don't think he wants to rely on that all season, but Shola out of BC played great. Keenan Davis came back after getting injured late last year. He looked great. Eze Wally looked really good. The core of the guys who returned from last year, Christian Moore played great again. They've got a couple of guys that have transferred in. Logan Gate was awesome. I think they're going to be a much improved team from a year ago. And then their best big guy, Simeon German, he was out. He was injured. They're hoping they get him back either tomorrow night against Boston College or on Monday against Charleston Southern. So lots to be optimistic about after that performance against Erskine Monday night.
All right. And again, Boston College is the opponent later, and the Citadel and BC with some close games in recent years. So perhaps the Citadel can find a way to get a upset there. We did have one thing last week I failed to bring up, back to football for a second. Andrew, I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. For the first time in the history of the Southern Conference Hall of Fame, a Citadel Bulldog is going in there. Paul McGuire from the class of 1960. How in the world could the Citadel just now be getting an inductee if that's indeed true?
Yeah, that would surprise me I'm not surprised that he would be the first one, but that he's not already in there, and that there haven't been others that could be in there. Stump Mitchell is the guy who jumps out at me, who should be in whatever Hall of Fame there is out there, college or whatever. So, but yeah, Paul McGuire certainly very deserving, and I'm a little surprised by that as well. If that's true, I have not really researched that.
I've been hearing for years that the Citadel's never had an inductee, and Paul McGuire did a great job when he was a player at the Citadel, but then what he did in the AFL with the Buffalo Bills, and then what he did in broadcasting. And last time we had him on this show was probably 15 years ago, and he was living on Daniel Island. I assume he's still in the Charleston area. We got to get him back on here, and that's what I intend to do before maybe we sign off for this year. But congratulations, Mr. McGuire, and what a nice accomplishment.
Yep. Yeah, very deserving.
All right. Anything else athletics-wise?
Not from my end.
All right. Anything else from the academic side, Thomas?
No, John. Nothing that I can think of.
There's your athletics guy. There's your academic guy. Here's your military guy. Because that's what we do at the Citadel. All right. It's a 1 o'clock Charleston time, high noon Oxford University of Mississippi time, Citadel and the Ole Miss Rebels. I was hoping maybe I could catch somebody walking down the street here and do a little trash talking. But bear with me here for a second as I turn around and do a little Citadel. Citadel. I'm not hearing anybody return that, but it's still early. We got time. Should be fun. We'll be back here next week to recap it all. And thank you again to Velvet Ditch for letting us broadcast on location. And come on down Friday and Saturday, 4 to 7 both days. And we will see you all. What in the world is that? We will see you all. The FCC stepping in and shutting us off. We will see you when you can. And good luck to the Citadel. Andrew, have a great week.
Safe travels there, Mr. Suggs.
Yes. And
thanks, sir.
Safe travels on that corporate Citadel jet coming out here. And we'll I'll do my best here. Thank you all for watching. Again, podcast available on demand on YouTube. And we're also in Spotify. We're in iHeartRadio has Citadel Gray Line if you want to listen to the podcast. A lot of people do that. We got all kinds of ways for you to connect to this all-dog show. Until we see you next week, Jon Rawl. How about those Citadel Bulldogs? We'll see you next time.
Leave that poor lady alone, John.
It was actually a man, but at least
sorry.
I think it was. You had the 50. I think it's 50-50. You had a 50-50 chance. Y'all have a great week. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.